Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the latest broadcast, and I hope you like the intro music because that music is I've been playing since the beginning of this particular branch of my broadcasts. I've had other theme music, and I had a little interesting amusement this morning because I was just checking my morning conversations in Telegram, and I had this back and forth on my where we go one we go all, and this, John Rice was saying, I get a good giggle from all the criticism of Dan's opening music and his persistence in using it, even starting to dance and conduct to it. we are all different, and that is great. I think it's good. I said, I like many forms of music. Anyway, so that's was how I started. Now this music introduction that I've been working with in the past. So a couple of things. Let me go. I'm just going to share my screen again. I'd like to give credit to them. No, I've done this on occasion, but I think it's well worth doing. The music is actually royalty free, right? And that's one of the reasons that I use it. So no copyright music, right? Meaning that anyone is free to use it. Jazz in Paris from Meteorite Productions, right? And it's got 1.5 million views, 2 million subscribers, right? And this is one of the reasons I use it. Now my tastes are varied. Right? I even at a very young age, I loved the classic music, Bach, Beethoven, Strauss. I loved that when I was very young. And I also had a time where I liked opera. But I've always liked the jazz and also blues. One of my favorite blues bands is the Blind Boys of Alabama. So I have a very wide taste in music. There's even some rap that I have liked in the past, and so it's not anything other than I'm enjoying this little bit of music, and yes, I'd like to set my tone, and I like to get into the music, and it's a very positive, uplifting, short 1 minute 42-second piece. So when I start this, I'm able to do a couple of things like grab the link, because I have to grab the link to send to Tank only after I've actually started the Hangouts. I can't send him a link ahead of time. So I start Hangouts, and then I play the music, and I send him the link. Just part of the process. So whenever you're doing broadcasting, it's good for a couple of very basic principles. I have these outlined in a broadcaster course that I make available to people, so that if you'd like to, the course is $150. You're welcome to participate and join. I'll have to get you up and running on your own YouTube channel. Figure out all the tech stuff that you need to do, which is not overwhelming. There's some more advanced things that I'm called upon to do when we have some interesting things happening with the clowns. Send in the clowns. No, don't come in. Switch your allegiance to the positive side. Come off of the dark side. Be a positive clown. So this broadcasting requires a couple of things that are good to do that are kind of help build an audience. One is consistency. So I try to start, around 9 o'clock to 9 minutes and 3 minutes after. So within 3 minutes, I like to get started. so that's consistent for people to say, oh, I know that it's at this time. It's going to come up. Yes, and I also suggest you look at your notifications. Doris Newman was one of the latest. Now, Doris is a friend of mine from about 3 years ago. Lives in Texas, and she basically has recently told me that her notifications were turned off on the channel. So you can subscribe, and you could be in a big list of subscriptions and someone, but if you don't set the notifications, it won't pop up when someone starts a live broadcast or posted a new YouTube video. So go back and check and make sure your notifications, the little bell symbol next to subscribe, is selected. And then if it's selected, it'll actually have little ringing sounds around it, or lines representing sounds. Ring. So that little bell, click on the bell, you'll get your notifications. Please, this is the age that we live in which you have to go back and check on your social media. If you really want to get your subscriptions and your notifications, you have to actually go back, because they will unselect it for you. You know, they're just doing you a favor. They don't want you listening to certain things, hearing certain things, so they will restrict that. So, but, you know, one of the other things is, you know, having some consistency in startups. So I have used other music in the past. Let's see, Green Orbs was one I was using for a while. The Seventh Floor Tango was another one that I've used in the floor. Again, they're short pieces. Royalty-free, no copyright music, so that anyone can use them. Now, I have put on here on this particular video, at least I believe so, a poll. Yes, you can now put your opinion in and say whether or not you would like, if you like this music or you don't like the intro music, or if you're indifferent. Since we have 116 people in the chat right now, you can go ahead and say yes for the music, or just put a Y, N for no, and I for indifferent about the startup music. So go ahead in the super chat, you know, just go ahead and put in your I for indifferent, yes, Y for yes, and N for no. If you your opinion about the intro music. Let's see, do we have got no, yes, 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 yes. See, the first one was a no. Okay, so now I'm going to ban the no. They're excluded from the channel from now on. No, I'm just joking. There goes Tom. Okay, no, Tamara B. Okay, you're also banned from the channel. No, I'm just joking. Okay, well, the no's are being drowned out by the yeses. They like the music. So come on, if you don't like it, come on, you better go ahead and, or your compatriots there are in the no category, are waning. So anyway, so there is, again, a poll on the video. Now, I have no idea how to get the results for the poll, because it's the first time that I've ever done that. And I really don't know where that goes from. So I've got to cancel out this. Otherwise, it will ding me. I usually cancel that before I get started, that app, because otherwise I'll go ding, 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 ding. Sorry. So anyway, it's gone. So, well, now people are being more affirmative and actually writing out the words instead of N and Y and I. We got a lot here. So anyway, still, the intro music is winning, so I don't have to look for anything new. All right. Oh, yeah, one of the things I did get a little off track on, I did not finish sending the link to Tank. Well, I sent it on Telegram, but I follow up just in case he's not at Telegram. I'll send it to him. As well, so there we go. Well, let's switch over to this.
Judy note, this would be my last restored republic via GCR report, as the title has come to fruition. The restored republic was on the horizon, all needed to complete the RV, GCR was done, Intel was frozen, and I have been advised to keep it quiet.
The Intel is done, it's been frozen, and I've been advised to keep this quiet. The Intel is frozen. No more Intel coming from where? Pentagon, CIA, MI6, MI5, MI6. Wherever this information was coming from, right? Yeah, Tank had direct access, right? He was getting reports directly after the elders met, right? So there's these channels of information, but why are they freezing it? It's because the GCR is dead. It's finished. It's kaput. And it's gone in a whimper. There will be, a lot of people having problems with this because they have their lives tied up into it. It is more problematic for people who have bet on something to happen and have structured their whole life around it to find out that it is ended not the way they want, and things have to move on. But there is a grieving process, the 5 stages of grief. The first 2 are always the most dramatic, right? Denial. No, it didn't happen. It's not nothing. No. Deny it. Then anger. Turn into the Incredible Hulk about it. The more you have tied up, the bigger this anger is, right? Then negotiation, I believe, is the next step. You try to negotiate. Well, if this happens like this, then we can make this happen. We can still make it happen. The GCR can still happen because, I have so much tied up into it. What's the other stage? I forgot. There's 5 stages. I forgot this one. And I think the last one is acceptance of it. But the main problem here is that the people who have so much put their lives on hold on their creative being and pushed all their creativity into something that was designed to stop their creativity from going out into the world, to allow the world to crash. They didn't want everyone out there moving on a basis of getting their life towards abundance, right? They wanted to focus their energy into something that was going to eventually lead them to go down the road of destruction. Put everyone on hold because they wanted everything to crash. And there'd be a very big wave of people getting active, right, with all this money. It's been so pent up, the pent up demand to spend because no one has any money because they put their life on hold and they're over here doing the GCR. They haven't been able to create any other business because they're so much tied up into endless meetings. And they haven't made anything happen. So now this pent up demand to spend money, and then here's your $1 trillion, go and spend it. So now you have a couple million people out there that are now trillionaires going out and spending money like crazy. What's going to happen? Prices are going to rise. They're going to rise dramatically. Before you know it, you'll be spending $100 trillion of U.S. dollars, Federal Reserve notes, to buy dinner. So how long is your vast fortune going to last you? Right now, the prices are super high. What do you do now? You've spent all your money because you had to eat dinner. Then you go to the government. Everybody is now looking for help. Government basically stamps your forehead and says, okay, go over here and do your day's work. You can have your day's food. No freedom. Sorry, I'm painting a picture here, Tank. So.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting the way they perverted the term manna. I keep thinking about that, right? Because that's what would happen, right? You'll get just enough. You'll get just enough to get through the day.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's a perversion. Well, everything is a perversion of what we're looking for. The whole system was created for abundance. Everyone bought into the abundance, but it was really to extract the wealth and give it to the few. So very few. Even the ones that were in the top echelons around the world, in the top, 2%, right? There's some numbers that we've used in the TBC community in pointing out studies that were done by the United Nations and all this saying, hey, 98% of the wealth of the world is owned by the 2%. And then just a couple years after that, it was 99% of all the wealth is owned by the 1%. What happened to that other 1%? Where'd their wealth go? You had 2%, it went down to 1. What about that 1%? Where'd their wealth go? It went to the 1%. And that was from already now, it's been at least 3 years since that's come out. So now that 1% is probably down to the 0.1%. So 99.9% of all the wealth of the world is owned by the 0.1%. And it would continue to do that. It's just squeezing out the last few drops of blood out of the stones. It's just some tremendous pressure to get that last drop of blood out of the stone, to give it to the 0.01%. So this is the plan.
It's a tragedy, is what it is.
It's a tragedy, and everyone's been sitting around waiting for the GCR so that they could fulfill this plan of killing off 90% of the population of the world. Of course, the people in this will have so much money that they'd be out of that. They don't care about the rest of the people, because they're useless eaters and they don't contribute anything, and there's no value. They have no value for us. So we can have robots that can do all the manual labor, make burgers at Burger King. So
yep. Yes, you could. By the way, you could do that. You would never make any progress in society, and they would end up taking over eventually, as we learned from Terminator. But
yeah. Yeah, the robots would end up. No, this is apparently an ongoing theme in the universe, is that there was a I don't know if this is true, but I think the archons that they talk about are an AI, and that it's a reflection of a long distant past. Just if you think about Stargate SG-1, right? And if you took some of their storylines and said, okay, well, let's apply it. The ancients of that time, which were evolved to a higher level of energetic state. The ancients, millions of years ago, if not billions of years ago, they were they were the builder race. They built all of these stargates around the different galaxies. They were an intergalactic race. And they built all these stargates to go from galaxy to galaxy. But they were eventually taken down by the replicators. It was basically a hardware version of a computer virus that kept spreading, right? And they developed their own intellect, their own, and they actually were created into beings that were exactly like the ancients. They looked like the ancients. They acted like the ancients. And then they were really upset that the ancients wanted to get rid of them, and so then there was a battle. And so, the ancient that in that case, it was still a mechanical being that was created that eventually pushed them out of reality. into ascension. I said, "Oh, we're out of this reality. We're out of here."
Yeah.
So we're faced with the same thing here. We'd be in the same position, having the robots take over. Now, I'm not saying we don't have robots. I'm not saying
We
that.
definitely have robots. We definitely have them now.
Well, I rephrased it that we shouldn't. I'm not saying that we should not have robots at all. I think that there's reasons to have drones and robots and things like that, but we have to use it as any tool responsibly, right? And if you want to start giving citizenship, right, any to them, but for the population of the world, not knowing that citizenship means slave,
Yeah.
It's a little back and forth there. Still, the slaves are citizens. So, but if you start making equating real life to the ones that are not living, and this theme is ongoing. This goes back even Star Trek. They had a Commander Data, right? It was an android, synthetic life form, as a sentient being, was given rights.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but his twin brother wanted to his version, the previous version of that model, decided that he was going to kill everybody in the universe and take over.
Right. So he said they were superior. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, I started.
So there's a battle. You're saying battle for control, right? And and so it's strange. It's like it starts with this, we want to be liberated, and then once we get our freedom, somewhere in the evolution, all of a sudden we want to stay in charge, and all of a sudden we're enslaving other people, and then they want to be liberated. Like whatever the next being is. Right? So like we're just in we're in the cycle of the liberation part, right? Where we're demanding our liberation
ourselves right now, right? But let's not confuse the issue by bringing up and creating a sentient life form, a sentient robot that we have to now deal with the issue with them. We're in the process of freeing ourselves from this slavery. So let's focus on that first. We can handle the others later. So
I agree with that. We can tackle that obstacle much later. For now, I think we can just deal with us.
Yeah.
If we could just get people to work together. Well, Hillary Clinton had a quote the other day in one of her tweets, and she said something about the reason why we're effective, which I'm like, well, as soon as Hillary Clinton starts a sentence that way, she's about to lie. So she said the reason why we're effective is because we cooperate. And then she said, like a hive, or like the bees or the ants. And I thought, yes, you do, because you are all obedient to the hive mind. And you have one queen who is the controller of all of you, and you all do whatever the queen says. You have one mind, you are the Borg, right? That's why you hear the same silly things coming out all over the place in the news right now. Today, I was listening to Bloomberg all day long. Do you know what the breaking news on Bloomberg was? From 1984 to 1995, then just regular Donald Trump, he lost more money than anyone else in the country, right? That was the big news. So he had 10 years where it was almost, whatever, $2 billion or something that he lost, right? Now, how on earth is something that happened in the 80s? So if I were to rephrase that intelligently, it would sound something like this. So you're telling me that the president took some risks when he was younger and lost money. And how is that news? How is that interesting to anyone? But what they do right after that is they couple it with impeachment proceedings are pushing forward. Based on what, you frauds? What are you impeaching him on? The fact that he didn't allow himself to get, indicted in your fraudulent investigation, where you You hired people to create fake reports, then fed information to different news media outlets to get them to back up what you gave them in the first place. Like,
well, what's shaping up right now is that it's obvious that this Mueller report, this investigation, was nothing more than the insurance policy to stop everyone from investigating Spygate, right? Which is that Obama used all of the intelligence agencies to spy on not just Donald Trump, but everybody, especially political opponents, not just domestic, but international. But from the standpoint of what, why international? Why are they? Why were they looking at this, as a worldwide collection of information to control, the information of the world? And Obama was heavy into this, and now it's all shaping up that now it's not about Russia, never was. It was about they were spying on people, and now it's going to the stuff we're dealing with. Spygate is not about spying by Russia; it's spying by Obama, but spying by the deep state against everyone in the world. That's where it's going. So the narrative is now switching to this. So it's not going to be a good thing for all those that are clamoring for for impeachment, right? It's not going to look.
Oh
good.
my gosh, I mean, like, you had Mnuchin, right? Who we all know has been fired now 3 times, right? And part of the reason why he hasn't actually left his position is because as soon as he got fired,
Thank you. Your volume is a bit low.
All right, 1 second.
When you said 1 second, it was very clear and loud.
All right, can you hear now?
Oh, that was really bad.
No.
You got a lot of reverb on that one. Go try again. It's like you lost your internet.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So you have Steve Mnuchin.
There you got light again. I don't know what it is. You got really soft.
Yep, no problem. 1 second.
Now you're loud again.
Now I'm loud again. Okay. I'm not going to move a muscle, and I'm going to try to get through this sentence.
Okay.
So Steve Mnuchin, who we know should have been fired now 3 times, what he did was he lawyered up, right? So as soon as he lawyered up, of course, lawyers don't ever really do anything for the law, except they are masterful at stalling, right? So what they did is they're stalling his position. In the meantime, he's doing whatever he's doing, while Kim has taken away any authority he has, and everything he tries fails miserably. But part of his pre-bargain, not to be convicted or something, or to go out, in some other fashion, was to ensure that when the Congress requested the action from President Trump, that Steve Bannon would say no. You can't have those because there's absolutely no legal reason for you to have them, right? There's absolutely no reason for you to have them. So that was what did happen. So that's good news, right? That, and you kind of talk, all right, Steve Mnuchin is doing something, for the people, but he's not. That is, covering his own ass is what he's doing, right? He's taking action to make sure that he follows his part of the pre-bargain, so that he doesn't get immediately arrested and properly.
So not releasing the tax returns of Trump is part of his negotiation. So that it's his like, well, I won't do this as long as I get that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I think that's why you have him still, the appearance of him playing this out in public, right? because they're all about their public image. It's all about how they look. So you have that playing out.
So I also found it interesting that Mnuchin was, in China negotiating this trade deal. And then all of a sudden, all of the backtracking was then by China from the previous negotiated, milestones that they met. That they had put language in there to retreat from those things, while Mnuchin is there.
Of course.
Right. So now, well, of course, Trump, just flipped it all around and said, okay, well, we're back to sanctions. Yeah, and now, they've removed that language. So, Trump.
There you go. There you
Trump.
go. Now, in other news, which this is massive, and they spent every show today talking about this 10-year period of Trump's life, when he did something, which was absolutely useless, right? But Iran is backing down on their nuclear research and production because of the sanctions the USA put out there. So Trump wins again. I mean, because that's what he said he was going to do. He backed him down again.
Yeah.
So the more that they're constantly, everyone's always worried he's going to make people mad. He's going to, they're going to act out on us. We're not going to be able to do business. He's been right every time. He's like, I don't care. Sanctions. We won't do business with you.
It's kind of the deep state wanted to remove Maduro from Venezuela and put in Guaido. All right, and so Trump looks like he's going along with the agenda, right? And he's pushing that, right? And they're doing the little like psyop things, like you have Bolton there giving a speech when they were first talking about this coming revolution. This was like a couple months ago, and he had like 5,000 troops to Venezuela written on his yellow pad that he positioned so that the pictures could be taken of it, right? So it's all psyop, right? But the reality is that Trump kind of goes down the line of the deep state, right, giving them what they want. But then he flips it around. And the question is, what is the flip? What is happening? Well, just like he brought Iran to the table, he's going to bring Maduro to the table. Right? Because, there's all this pressure. And they're going to want to eventually have the conversation to fix the problem. And I think that was going to end up being the removal of socialism from Venezuela. Right? And I think that's one of the major agendas that Trump has, is to remove the socialism and communism / Satanism from the world politics. And the reason I'm really laying that out that way is because of the excellent work that was put together by The Edge of Wonder, and they did this 5-part series on the deep state religion. And I actually called part of the Wherever We Go, One We Go All.love website. I made it. The removal of, or the destruction of, the deep state religion of sadism, socialism, and communism. Right. And most of the people that are in that are claiming that they want socialism have no idea where it started, or what was and the reason for it. And that socialism is just the stepping stone to communism. Right? And there's never been communism. There's never been a communist. Communism has never been achieved on the planet. The USSR has not achieved communism. The Chinese government has not achieved communism. Their goal is to get to there, right? And along the way, they have to just trample everybody and kill people that don't agree and so on to get to that goal of communism. But the end goal of communism is something that is impossible because it denies human rights. So since you're always trying to get there, you're always stepping on the people to get to a place. All right, so it says that you won't be stepping on people anymore.
Right.
Right? So it's a never
Uh,
goal to get there. So you're always going to be in this tyranny. Always, your thoughts have to be in alignment, or you're done. Right? You'll be stepped on.
right. No, I get it. I'm following the stops everywhere. Because I'm always analyzing these things from angles and considering what you're doing, right? Like who's actually in the know, because I know there's actually a master plan, right? But like I said,
I think you're still having internet problems.
Guys.
It's definitely the reverb, type of voice, so it's breaking.
Yeah, doctor, let me get in a better place.
Yeah, well, I'll do some technology consulting with you off the air. See if we can fix this. I can give you some suggestions on how to.
Well, I will tell you, they're attacking me right now. I've been no, in my little town. There's not a single place that should have any issues. I mean, I'm just outside the city, so there's no buildings blocking me, and there's town everywhere. So I'm actually, I mean, you should have more of a problem than I should, So.
No, I'm on fiber, man.
Well, right. But all of a sudden, my whole like all day, I've been on calls all day. I started to really cut something, cut out.
You're really going after you now, Tank.
I believe it.
Not one word is coming.
I am. So annoying.
My technical consulting will consist of you, standing on one foot with your arms out to your side, right, and then phone in one ear, and you balance just right, and then you'll get the reception.
Yes.
Just think of yogic poses, right? Yogic frame of mind. Deep breath. Become the antenna. Gone.
Trying to. I'm not here. So you can't.
Well, it's not good. Okay, everybody, send positive energy to Tank's reception on his Wi-Fi. Think good Wi-Fi for Tank. Good Wi-Fi for Tank. And we can overcome this. Hey, I know you're not thinking, you're not helping out. Come on. Help Tank out. Oh, well, actually, he dropped off the line, so. Well, this looks like we're having another one of these interesting days. So, the message is strong. We've already caused quite a bit of a stir to the point where the GCR has actually collapsed, right? And I was talking about those 5 stages of grief. The anger is part of lashing out against those that gave the message. So Tank and I have been giving out this message, and there's some lash out in technology and any which way that they can, act out is part of this stages of grief that they're going through. So we have to understand that's what's going on, and they will get through this, and they'll eventually get to acceptance. The negotiation phase, I'm sure, has been going on with Kim, where they're angry about it, right? And then they try to negotiate with Kim, and then they say, "Aha! Now we've got the money," and then they break their agreements, and then the money gets pulled back, and then they have to go through the grief again. But hopefully those stages come through quickly. So that's one thing, is like these 5 stages of grief, it's up to you to go through them as fast as possible. How long do you want to be in this negative place? This virtual hell that you're in is of your own making. You can let it go by moving through, get to acceptance, and then create a whole new world. But realize the value of people. That every man, woman, child has infinite value. And that's what we have to focus on. So when you're out there and you want to start attacking the messengers, realize that it's not going to make you feel any better. The best thing is to get to the acceptance stage. Drop your anger. Drop the negotiations, because you're trying to negotiate for enslavement against freedom. And you're not on the freedom side. You're on the debt slavery side. So you may not agree with the direction things are that we want to take it. That's fine. But, come up with some good ways to bring the message forward. Hey, Tank, you're back. Can we hear you now?
I am here. I don't know if you can hear me. I hope so.
We can't hear Tank anymore. So
you could literally drive me insane that way. That's the secret to taking this thing down.
Yeah, the clowns made me do it.
Yeah. That's how it can go down. Yep. Yeah, man. So yeah, they've been messing with my service every place I go.
I just went on that the clowns were messing with you, right? And they're just dealing with their 5 stages of grief.
Right.
They have to get over it. Stop the anger part and retaliating against this, and forget about negotiation, because negotiation has already been tried by the people above you. Right, and once they get the money from Kim, they say, "Yeah, we've got it. Okay, we can break all our agreements." And
right,
and then the money.
We tricked her again. We're so clever. We did the exact same thing. And then what do? Wait, where's the money? Oh, she pulled it back again. How'd she figure it out? Because you did the same thing. You did the exact same thing. Right? Just because you came in through another server, all you did was just expose another place where you had access. And you tried again, the same thing, and now that server's shut down. Right? That's how all of them get shut down. That's why FinCEN is just kind of a place where people go now, not really to work, because it's just a system that doesn't work. That's why people at the bank yesterday couldn't cash U.S. Treasury checks in the United States at a U.S. bank. Right? That's why Wells Fargo was down. Internet was having trouble yesterday with the face access, and today they're down again, because all of these organizations, everything that you had heard about is happening, just the way we said. It's all now starting to finally hit the surface, and everyone's starting to realize, like, wait a minute, we might be in trouble. Well, let's hope they are.
Yeah. Well, that was my reasoning with them, to say it's time to just drop the anger and negotiation and go right into acceptance. Accept it and then move on. We've got a lot to do. Right? Stop waiting for the GCR. GCR is over.
That's right. I always thinking about this. To stop this, it's like literally shooting yourself in the leg. Which the wide receiver from the Giants, Plexico Burress, he went out in New York City with a pair of sweatpants on and a loaded handgun, and literally shot himself in the leg. Right, he was in the prime of his career. He He ended up going to jail for 3 years because he had a weapon. Because in New York, you can't do that. You can't have a weapon anywhere. But that's kind of like, to me, like, that is exactly what the cabal is. There's somebody who went out, shot themselves in the leg at a club, trying to show off to a girl. Then in the peak of everything they were doing, they went to jail. That is the cabal right now. That's exactly who they are.
Well, they're about to go to jail, and that would be the good way out for them, is that they're only in jail. Other things, they tried to make lynching illegal. I don't think that they got past it.
You know, thank God, the courageous, incredible, amazing courage again that Cory Booker and Kamala Harris had to bring lynching and make it a hate crime. Like, hey, idiots. Like, I hate to call people names, excuse me, I'm sorry. But seriously, this is one of the most dumbass things to ever do in Congress. There hasn't been a lynching in 60 years, right? But now you declare it a hate crime. Now, first of all, anything that is racially motivated, that is violent in nature, or hurts someone because of their race is a hate crime, or because of their sexual orientation, or because, you know.
Well, the thing is, you can't legislate, make things illegal based on people's emotional being. What their feelings are. If they feel hate for someone, you cannot make that illegal. Their actions you can. If someone, takes out a gun and shoots someone, that's, against the law. But you can't go towards hate as being illegal, because that's where they then say, okay, well, you're saying hateful things, so you're now banned from Facebook. You're now banned from YouTube because you're saying hateful things. Well, I hate the deep state that has enslaved us. So now I'm saying something hateful, and it's now banned.
Well, that is true. But Dan, I figured it out. Here's what we have to do. We have to start disguising what we're saying and pretending we're saying what they're saying, because that's what they do, right? It's very clever. So we just got to figure out how to say the opposite of what they're saying, but use their words, right? Somehow. And we'll just kind of slip it in there and be like, oh, Dan and Tank sold out. But in reality, everybody in the know will know, right? And we'll reverse the programming.
The problem is it's just a math problem, and you can't do what you just suggested.
Okay.
As a negative is a negative, is still negative.
Good point. Good point.
It's just math.
Yeah.
Their math works the opposite side. We just have to recognize what they're doing, though. And then that's when we can make it into a positive. Is our recognition of this. And when people, if they want to make hate illegal, next thing it's to make love illegal.
Oh my goodness!
Right?
We can't have that.
No gender, no emotion. You're a machine.
Yeah, no, that is definitely that's the version of a.
No,
they won't do
that. They can't do that.
Yeah, they can. They will. They will.
I hear all that people out there. Oh, they would never do that.
Yeah, that's insane. Yes, all of this is insane, and it's all happening. Wake up!
It's all insane. And wake up. Yeah, exactly. They're
come
doing
on board.
What everyone was saying, this is the road we're on 20 years ago, 30 years ago. We can't do this because of, and part of that was legislating emotion. You can't legislate against an emotion. You can't do it because it just leads to your imprisonment and the elimination of emotion. If you have any emotion, you will then be illegal. You'll be in jail and working on the prison planet, borrowing an Alex Jones reference. All right, because the whole planet is a prison, and you're part of it because you had emotion. Yeah, it sounds like it's impossible, but 30 years ago, legislating against hate would be illegal. It would be impossible, but now they've made it illegal. Oh, it just takes time. They just keep going after, and it sounds good, right? Who wants to? Yeah, I don't agree with hate. I don't want anyone to hate. when the people that hate you saying that, you're preventing them from saying it.
Yep.
The opposite opinion. So then you end up again back into the Borg. No emotion.
That's absolutely right. This is why I talk about this all the time when I define human empowerment projects versus humanitarian projects, right? Now, this is just my own definition, right? But what I always talk about in human empowerment is that every project must operate with the best interests of the people, the planet, and the individual human experience, right? Because if I hate a group right now, I have the right to hate a group. I mean, that is my right, so to speak, right? I'm allowed to feel that way. You can't dictate how I feel.
Yeah,
So that's a good point.
if you hate my intro music, you're banned. That's why on the beginning of this I was talking about that they were. And I said, put up your yes or no or I for indifferent to my music in the chat room, and all the no's were coming in, all the yeses were coming in. The yeses were far more than them than the no's, but there was a few no's that don't like the music.
Okay, first of all,
I'm banning you. I'm banning you. Well, I was joking.
First of all, everybody out there who said yes, shame on you. Shame on you. Because that song's awful. I'm sorry. I vote no, but that's just me.
You're banned. You're banned.
I know. But I was looking at this, man. It's like, so now if you think about it though, now we can't take away, we don't want to take away people's right to feel, right? Because that's part of our process of waking up, of going through experiences, of coming to a new understanding on any issue, is going through the gamut of emotions, right? And when you really get to a place of self-mastery, you realize you could hate something and then learn to understand it and have a whole different perspective later on in life, right? So that can't change. We can't take away that aspect of human development, right? Because it's just part of it, right? Our emotions are one of the things that make us so powerful and unique. So that's why you have to have that last part in there, that you have to operate in consideration of the individual human experience. We all have to value that you have the right to be you and I have the right to be me, and we don't have to be the same. And instead of allowing that to be something that divides us, we be like, look, you know what? I don't agree with Dan's, intro music. He loves it. It's his jam, right? He plays it all the time, and it's his favorite song, right? But we don't have to agree. We can still get along just fine, right? Now, and that you can apply that same principle, however silly, to everything else. Now, but here's what they've done. They've made decisions. This group is evil, right? Even though most of the time they're evil because they were fed, a pack of lies by the same people who are now declaring them evil for believing them, right? Yeah. It's like, well, we made this religion for you, and then we told you all these things that are horrible to make you into killers, right? For God, and now we're declaring you terrorists because you want to go and kill people for God. What are you thinking? It's like, but you told us that. You're the ones that made this up. And that's the reality.
That's exactly what's happening. And so and of course, we're looking at, waking up to how this is being done to everybody, and that's their problem. When we wake up and we know what they've been doing, this is what their problem is. They cannot be in the light. They will basically dissolve. They cannot.
That is it. Yep, that's right. You cannot maintain that level of deep darkness when we all shine together. Because when everybody starts to shine, you realize there's just too many lights on the planet for them to be that way. It just doesn't fit. But they would justify it all the time by, they can bomb this organization. That's why the individual human experience, right? It goes back to do no harm, right? That's the core principle. You can build tree houses, in your yard that connect all over the place as long as you're not hurting anybody, right? It might be ridiculous, but you can go do something ridiculous as long as you're not hurting anybody. You can be wrong, right? One of the most beautiful and incredible things about being free, about being sovereign, is you can be wrong, and that's okay. You know what? You can fail. You can fail and not be demolished, right? You're sovereign. It's okay to fail. It's part of the learning process. These are all things that are so greatly undervalued, right? We're trained to live in this very limited scope. And in that limited scope, we can generally have some kind of very modest and moderate success, right? It's like making a list of things to do. And on the list of things to do, you put on there, wake up, eat breakfast, right? It's like, well, those things really shouldn't be on the list of things to do, but you put them on there so you at least got something done that day, right? Like, that's kind of where they have us stuck, right? Wake up, eat breakfast, get dressed. Like, it's like, okay, we did those things. We're ready to go do, the rest of the list. So,
Yeah, so I was just checking out the chat room, see if we've got any questions. There are a couple of questions without anything. I'll just say this is a question for Tank from yesterday. So Kim's quantum system recognizes our DNA or essence. Will the system recognize a clone?
I think it'll recognize that it is a clone.
That's what I said yesterday, and my reasoning for that is that the vibration of DNA, it has a point at which it comes into existence, right? As a physical present, it's mapped from that point. If another, DNA pops up somewhere else on the grid, it starts resonating. The quantum system will start mapping it. Excuse me.
It's okay. Glad you're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's true. I mean, look, it is the most advanced identification system probably in many worlds, right? It will be able to identify exactly who's who. It will be able to identify if the individual is distressed. In other words, if they're holding a gun to my head, right, or to my children, it's not going to let me move the money, right? And they have to know that this is a system that works against them.
So I've got a question. If I have a clone, right? Because I need a lot of good workers, so I figure I just clone myself, and so I have like a dozen of me. Could then each of them have their own project and get money from the trust?
No.
Okay. So now we know that there is no clones getting money from the trust. Okay.
Yeah, we've set a standard. I'm fairly certain it has to do with having a soul. So unless my understanding is that you can pull the soul out of a body and put it into a clone.
You know what? I made a comment about that yesterday. Is that the way I see it is it's kind of like having a multiple personality for your soul, right? The soul is kind of like controlling many bodies all from one soul. Is the way I see it. I might be completely wrong. I went back and this came out of some of like when Dolly the sheep was first created, there was some other Dollies, the sheep that were cloned, that they had different things that happened to them. For example, one of them rapidly aged until it actually met the current age of the current original Dolly, the sheep.
Wow, yeah.
Not all of them did that. So it was kind of they each had different issues, right? They're working out the technology of cloning. But when I started thinking about what does that mean, well, I kind of see that the essence of the soul, right, which is because the soul is controlling the body, right, from behind the scenes. Well, if you just happen to have another body pop up, that same soul is now kind of like, well, now I've got like two things I'm doing. You end up with like multiple personality disorder, when you have clones. That's the way I see it. But I can be wrong. I was just a theory.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say for certain. I don't know enough about it. Because there's too many different versions and speculations. I mean, the clone. I mean, essentially, you're bringing plasma together to, create a replica, but it's the shell without the the spark in it that makes it alive. And until you put something in it to spark it, is my understanding. But then I've also heard that they can program them, right? So that's why you have people like Hillary Clinton, who, as far as I know, I mean, I know Kim has told me that George Bush, the Black Dragon, the senior, right? That was like the third version of him, right? He had died 3 times, and they just kept cloning him because the connections they have and the respect their position commands.
Right.
Whoever's controlling them wants that person to stay there, so they don't have to go through the process of putting someone else there, right?
Yeah,
And,
I got that. I knew that was one of the big reasons for cloning was to put to keep those puppets in place. Right? You don't want to replace them because it's too critical to the bigger plan that's at hand.
Yep. Yeah. You just can't. It's.
Well, so Hillary supposedly died while on the campaign trail, right? And they rushed her into her apartment in New York. I don't know where her apartment is, but in New York. And then they had already a team there, and they did transfusions and stuff, and brought her body back to life. Not a clone, but her actual existing one.
Yeah, I actually, I had a little tighter connection on that. That's actually her body double, who has lived there. She lives 2 floors above her daughter in the same building, and she's lived there for a long time. She's it's known, like she lives there as a body double. That's why when she came back out, she was 20 pounds heavier, and you can see it's a very clear difference in who the person was. But that's her body double who lives in that building.
Okay.
And she lives 2 floors above her daughter. Yeah. And and then in another report, I was told that it's her body double and it's her half sister, which, by the way, could mean clone. Like maybe that was just code because it's really a clone.
It could be, yes. Yeah. Well, all right. Let's. I've got a comment here from Louis Colbert. And it says, Dan, if you stop that song, we've got a problem. My girlfriend hates it. So I don't understand why that's the problem if I stopped it, because unless you're trying to irritate your girlfriend.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe. Well, in other news, today, what else happened?
Do we have an
update? All that I know is that the banks are currently not working. There's many things that are in operation, not working, but I'm saying there's many issues that are happening, across the grid with the banks, right? That all speak to a massive global synchronization. That's what I hope it is, and we'll have more on that very soon. But I would say this: we are winning. So, Kim was joking around today, which Kim is a pretty serious character. So when she's joking around, that's always a good sign. It means she knows what's going on, and she knows she's got them. And I would say, even in Ben Fulfer's report today, he said that the secret societies said that the outdated currencies like the ZIM there will be no global currency reset.
Oh, Benjamin Fulton said that too.
Yes, he did. And that was directly from the secret societies. Came from it was included in a series of quotes with Henry Kissinger, right? So now, but he still makes it seem like there's another global agenda that's going to, because they're still saying, and this is actually pretty accurate, right? They're still saying it's time for the Chinese to lead. No, it's not. No, it's not. Not the Chinese elders, right? Now, the Chinese people can lead the Chinese people, right? And
right.
They can lead their country and be sovereign there. What we're not going to do is a globalist agenda, right? That the Pope is suddenly endorsing, because that came out too. Remember, the Pope called was supporting Kim and wanted to be part of things, right? And then I don't know if they finally got to him, if they blackmailed him, if they killed him, and they cloned him. I don't know, but there was a report out today that the Pope is now he's saying there's too much talk of sovereignty. And he now supports a globalist or a globalist ruling, right, or globalist order. So they're still trying to pump that agenda.
It's not the first time that he's made those comments. He's made those comments before, and he's even they just had this global summit of religions in Davos. Davos, however you say it.
Yeah.
And they also have the that the new world order city that's in what is it? It's not. It's like one of the Slavic countries. They built this whole city, and there's a pyramid structure where they literally put the religions on a particular floor. All the religions
Wow.
over there, right? And it's to have a one world religion, right? It's the goal, right?
Well, and then what they will plan to do, right, is they had what they were trying to do is implement this peaceful resolution and all this stuff, right? But to get to that peaceful resolution, they have to wage war, right? So what they're doing is they're taking the Islamic State, right? They're taking Islam, which in and of itself in the scriptures is not a violent religion per se, right? But what they're doing is they're putting all the emphasis on they're teaching kids in Pennsylvania, how to behead someone who, tries
Right.
to leave Islam, right? Things like this. So what they're doing is they're replacing the Jesuit order as the head, of the religious, order of the planet, the military Jesuits, right? The Jesuits are the military order of the Catholic Church, right? The Catholic Church has been the reigning dominant religion of the world, for a couple thousand years, right? Because it incorporates all the other religions because it's Satanism. So they're just taking those same principles, they're just transferring them over, you know,
Right.
blood sacrifices. It's all the same. It's all the same stuff, same rhetoric, and and they're making it a big, hullabaloo, right? Like there was a huge outcry in allegedly in the Middle East because somebody said that the God of the Christians, the Jews, and the Muslims was the same. Well, that's true. That's true because Islam comes from Isaac, and Ishmael, right? Like it's the same God of Abraham. It's the same God, right? They all go back, and then they try to just downplay one another, and it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, first of all of these these are all religions based on Anu, right? They go back to worshiping Anu, right? All of them. They're all different versions of those same principal gods, right? That's why even in the Elohim, in the Bible, like the original Hebrew text, it talks about Elohim. It says, "And we will make man in our image," right? So there's multiple gods. Elohim is a pluralistic term, right, for multiple gods, and so you have this principle where you have multiple gods, and they lived in the Garden of Eden where there was multiple gods, So people hate that idea, right? Because it was like a war of the gods to see who was dominant, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I'm just kind of speculating, but what continues not to sit right with me over and over again is we don't realize that we've been enslaved by our own religion, right? We think that God, the source of all creation, requires us to bow down, when in fact God made us of the same source and substance that He is, right? We're made from the same source. We come from the same place, and wants us to know that right within us is the Creator. That's why the Bible says, you know, you're made in the likeness and image of your Creator. So, but generally, we're all comfortable with giving away our sovereignty and being like, I'll be a slave to God. But that's not what God. You're not honoring, you know, your God by doing that. It's like your parents, right? Like most people are comfortable referring to God as like father or mother, right? Or mother, father, God, things like that, right? But when you think about it, it's like your parents wouldn't be honored because you spend your whole life at home doing nothing except for serving them, right? You're not honoring your parents by doing that. Where you honor your parents is when you take the things that your parents teach you and you apply them in your life, right? And as you apply those principles in life, they expect you to be able to operate and function on your own. So why wouldn't that same principle be true with us? Why wouldn't God expect us to take the gift of life and develop it and see what it can do? Right? That's the most natural thing all of us do as we grow, right? Like you watch kids, they're always testing their limits to see what they can do. And sometimes they don't even realize what they can do. And all of a sudden, they're riding a bike, or, they can do a backflip and they didn't know. But because they're fearless, right? They're willing to test their limits. We train them to be afraid. But you imagine what your life would be like if you weren't afraid. It'd be a very different place.
Yep. Yeah. Well, it's not good to be living in fear, because then you're not able to do anything. It prevents you from actually taking action. So, if your first action is fear, you got to deal with it, and then either run or fight or flight. Right. So I'm choosing to fight. Stand up, do a video.
Yeah.
Make a website.
Hey, look.
Start asking people to wear yellow vests everywhere.
I will say, I did want to throw this out there. A very, very polite and thoughtful individual emailed into the Speak Project. She told us that she shared with me that that our message is too important, right, to just have the reports the way we do them, and that we need to have a more of a sit rep kind of a report.
Or what?
And a sit rep, like a situation report.
Okay.
Where we do a specific kind of a news update to give the information, make sure it gets out there in a very short format, so people will tune in and they can share it with other people outside of the media circle. So I wanted to let her know that I started to do that today. I will have a sit rep out tomorrow, and I will do my best to put out those little sit reps every day. I'll put them on the Speak Pro radio, and anybody who just wants a quick update, you can go there and you can tell your friends and you can share it. And I will do my very best to make sure that my recording is very clear. I'll pre-record it. I won't do it live, and we'll have awesome theme music. It'll be great, by the way. So we'll start out.
Jazz in Paris, I assume.
What's that?
Jazz in Paris.
Yeah, Jazz in Paris, right. I love something good that everybody can relate to. So yep. So I look, we can always be more effective, and I'm very open to criticism, as long as it's done in a respectful way, and I want to be the best version of myself, and I want others to do the same. So I feel like you got to start at home. You got to start at home.
No, I think it's a good idea to do something more like the reading of the report, something. But I think that's a different show, than what we're doing. This is it's not that that's not needed. I agree. It's just that we should, I think this format is good. It's kind of open, free flowing, but maybe doing another, like you said, like short element reports is good, and putting them into more of a a prepared story, kind of a presentation type of line to kind of give people all the details, put in all the facts. But that also requires preparation and time, and right now I've got no extra bandwidth. This is taking up quite a bit of a chunk, plus including the where we go when we go all.love website. I did actually include that now as a part of the link down below in the description, so people can now join it. And then also now, that's a place from which it's actually designed to be like situation reports, right? It's segmented into these different areas, and then the intent is to literally to bring all that information on that one category to that one place. And so the situation report on this, like worldwide religion, you can pretty much figure out where it's going to be fitting, within the nine basic categories with three fronts, three categories, three fronts each so far.
Right, and Dan, I figure, look, I'm gonna do those, every day. Like I figure, look, we instead of me doing the report, ad hoc, we'll have a report. We can throw it on, whenever we, broadcast, and then you can put it up there on where we go one, we go all, and I'll put it on the Speak Project, obviously, and we can keep it moving. Just make sure people have it. And I mean, to be honest, I never read anything and I never write anything down. And I'm not bragging about that. It's just a habit. I generally remember, but obviously I could fine tune these things so they're more effective. I know that it's a very big concern for people because they want to share things with people who are outside. They want to red pill them, right? So I think providing a brief to the point intel report, that expands, you know, uh, the consciousness in baby steps will help everything we're doing. And it's going to be something that'll just be perpetually ongoing. Kim was talking about having a trust channel, right? She wants to have her own network for the trust, which I think is very wise, right? Because
Yeah.
I've been talking about doing that anyways, because we can basically, be broadcasting about progress with projects all over the world. So imagine how amazing that channel would be, as you are watching all these amazing, incredible, technologies and all these other things, come out into the mainstream, you know, and watch them being applied all over the world. I mean, that's a great channel. So I love that idea.
Yeah, well, definitely necessary. We have to build a whole new reality, right? We really have to, bypass, all of these other, social media systems, all the other channels, all the other news organizations, and it's what's happening. It's already happening. So it's just tuning into that and then participation, taking action.
Yes, indeed. So, and I think
I did
is
send
the
Tui the link because you said indeed. I just reminded. I did send Tui the.
good.
I don't.
So I want to talk about impeachment, right?
Okay.
So, what is your understanding on the grounds for impeachment? Like, what are they actually saying? Because
The grounds
X
for
happened,
impeachment is that Trump was thinking about firing Mueller.
which is his job, right? If he suspected Mueller was right, the head of the spear on a operational coup to overthrow the U.S. government, that would technically be his responsibility.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Well, there are several points. First he was thinking about it, and then he asked his attorney, I want to fire, Mueller from this investigation. Right. So that was, and then the attorney basically, went back to him and basically said, no, it's not a good idea. And so then Trump dropped it. Well, that's the charges right there.
Really? So
That's it.
basically, the attorney violated attorney-client privilege, first of all, right? I'm
Oh,
sure he was
that might
ordered
be
to do something.
well. I don't know. I don't know that part. If that was allowed to get out, or if that came in a memo that's been released, I have no idea if that occurred. If it was against attorney-client privilege, it might be, but I don't know. All I know is that he was said to have, asked him to that he should asked him about firing him, and he came back and said it's not a good idea, and then Trump did not do it. So that was the obstruction. Beyond that, there is no crime of Russian collusion. It was now shown to be just filled with there's more and more of these intel officers from foreign nations that were used to gather the information to say that Trump was colluding with Russia. So they were all false. So they took false information from foreign intelligence officers to create a fiction about Russian collusion to persuade everyone to focus over here and not look at Obama spying on everyone. Everyone.
Okay. So, all right. So let's really, I want to hone in on this because I think it's really important because somewhere in this, someone who's very liberal is going to come across this. And so I want to make sure that we have this clear. So they're furious They're furious because President Trump thought about firing someone he thought was conspiring against the U.S. government. And then his attorney said that's not a good idea to fire him, so he didn't. So he followed the direction of his attorney. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
The next thing is they really wanted to convict him in reality, right? They really wanted to indict him on something. They wanted to get him on obstruction or collusion, and they couldn't because of all the corruption that they actually perpetuated. And because he came out of it scot-free, they want to impeach him for that. That's the reality, right?
Right.
So now the next part is in this investigation, it has been obviously, I mean, it is obvious, the evidence is airtight that there was definitely spying based on the lying by the FBI to go and get the FISA whatever document permission to go in and run surveillance. The head of the FBI, Comey, doesn't know that surveillance is spying.
Right.
Like being completely inept. Even that lie is completely inept. The fact that he's in the FBI and doesn't have a better lie than that, I just feel like he should go to jail forever. I mean, he should go to jail forever because that's the worst lie. I mean, I wish that was a crime, but okay, we'll leave that. So in reality, you have obvious efforts that are international, it would seem, right? Because you had people paid to create the Steele dossier, right, with false facts, and that it was endorsed by the same people who leaked the information to various media sources to give confirmation, which brought about the fake FISA document to launch an investigation. Then in this, it's also revealed right now, this is happening, I mean, with Judicial Watch, they have received absolute proof, the sworn testimony of an FBI agent actively involved in the investigation, that the emails that were ordered to be delivered to, I'm not sure what the governing body was, from Hillary Clinton's home server, where she loaded up the malware. That's the truth, but whatever. She loaded up the malware for the Chinese elders, not the government, the Chinese elders, to get top secret and confidential emails. So as she would send it out, it would accidentally go to the Chinese elders, so they knew, who the operatives were there in China, and they all just disappeared. So the entire network of agents that we had in China, they all disappeared. They just disappeared. So either she got a bunch of good agents killed, or they were outed and dealt with in a different way or bribed off. Who knows? I'm not sure about that one, but I do know that she put a lot of agents at risk. So, and then furthermore, the emails that were allegedly missing that would have made a big impact, they were found, and the FBI covered it up, and they were found in the president's office, and he covered it up.
Yeah.
So, top secret documents intentionally leaked out using mail. How would they get malware onto a private server if it was properly secured? How would they even know she had a private server? Unless she let them in and just let that happen. Right. It was like having the tech guy come over and upload a new program onto your computer system. That's what she did with the Chinese elders. She said, "Coming over, have a kid sacrifice. We'll slug down some adrenochrome, and you guys can load up some malware on my server so we can commit treason against the government, because later we're going to kill everybody." So that's the reality, right? That's that. I'm sure it didn't happen exactly that way, but not too far from that. So that's basically, this is just a horrible cover-up at this point, right?
Right.
I mean, there's the only thing they have is just coming out and saying, "Nuh-uh," right?
So Hillary had a complete protection scheme put in place. FBI, CIA, the Justice Department, all of them coordinated coordinated. CIA got the information. They worked with a British spy. He's a British spy, known British spy, to put together this Steele dossier is from a British spy, and to coordinate this with the FBI to create the criminal investigation, right? Because the CIA cannot do criminal operations, so the CIA had to pressure the FBI to do this. So otherwise, why would they do it? Where did it come from? The information came from CIA. And now they've coordinated this whole effort, for Hillary. It's now all of these pieces that they had to protect the Clinton Foundation, Hillary, Bill, are gone. They have no protection, and the ones that are out there that were the protectors, they're now the targets of investigations, which they should be getting their lawyers, to protect themselves, because they're going to be going down. So it's obvious. So when what we're going to see is Brennan go down, right? Because he's the linchpin. He's the master organizer. When he goes down, Comey is going to be following. Maybe Comey goes first, but it's probably Brennan will go. So when we see that happen, Clinton Foundation will fall after that. Obama will fall after that. Bush will fall after that. Cheney will also be pulled into this, and he will go. The whole cabal of the power structure will collapse. So this is what is unfolding. This is where we're at. Those barriers are gone. The offense has started. So that's why we can see that there is going to that this server, right, where the information was given out to the Chinese elders is a distraction, right? It was put up. So yes, it occurred, right? But they thought they could contain it in the Mueller report, right? But they got everyone looking over here, because it was already exposed, right? That Hillary, about her emails, right? Everyone's focused on that, but not on Obama spying on everyone. I'm not talking about
not everyone, right?
Everyone on the planet, all of it.
And remember, Obama sold the rights to regulate the entire internet to a private company in California.
Yeah.
Right. So,
which is run by Hillary's law partner.
Right, and that is how the Clintons bought up all of the what do they call the security certificates, right? So that was one of the biggest challenges.
Literally, they stole that technology, right? And that's why they stole the patents. And we covered that before, but again, the best resource for that is American Intelligence Media. You'll please subscribe to their channel. I also have these channels listed that I think you should subscribe to on Where We Go, When We Go, All.love. Just look under channels, and you'll be able to see that. And I'll be doing specifically on these topics. When we come up with these topics, the videos are relating to that will be put there from the different channels, right? So that you have one source to go to discover all the information about this one topic. So Spygate would be, it's going to be the one of these new sub topics to the main one, main three. So anyway, we're just starting to organize this data to help people understand what's going on, and it's a big effort, right? To try and understand what's going on, because we've all been sleeping. Well, not all. Even though I thought I was awake, even when I was in my 20s and 30s, I knew all about everything, how it was set up. I was still only scratching the surface. I didn't think that the cabal was to the extent of it literally controlled everything, and it was every part of life. I mean, I knew it was a great influencer, but it's much deeper than that. And I think that is being
much
exposed.
deeper. Yep. And there's a lot more to come too. You know, I mean, that I think is pretty exciting. That I've always been fascinated by. You too. We mentioned this the other day about, you know, that the people of Agartha, right? Which Agartha is, you know, inner Earth, right? And that's all real. You know, that's a real existing thing that, you know.
So it's kind of hard to have a hollow Earth if the Earth is flat, though.
Yes, I know. There's this woman. She's great actually. She had all this awesome stuff on Rhonda something on Pinterest, and you know, she was putting all this great stuff out about this amazing flying machine they found, you know, in this ancient flying machine, right? The Marines like unearthed it, right? And they discovered it, and apparently they excavated it, right? And it was working. They had plans. Say again?
In Afghanistan.
Oh, okay, in Afghanistan, right?
And they have a bell shape. Yeah, these are ancient. They usually were associated with the Hindu, you know, ancient history of India.
Right. But then she put something on there about, and she was doing great. I loved everything she had to say. And then she started really pumping flat Earth, and so I said, she was so cool. I was like, I let her know. I said, you know, I know for a fact, you know, I actually talked to the group who, you know, did this, who were responsible to create this myth from MI6 for flat Earth, right? So like, it's definitely a psyops, right? And I mean, there's a couple psyops like that I happen to speak to, you know, somebody in the group who like they were responsible to create the psyops for one reason or another, you know.
Yeah.
So.
I know. I had some friends that I spoke with, you know, face to face about it, right? And they said it's a psyop, right? And I said I know it's a psyop, and you know everything, all the proof that they want to pull up about it. There's an alternative alternative reason as to why it is like that. You know, I mean, I mean, they have some great theory, right? That
I got into that flat Earth thing for a little bit. You know, all these things like I've dove into somewhere along the line and like really been like, oh my gosh, this is true. You know, like, you know, before you start discerning, you have to kind of start believing. So.
Well, it's kind of like I like the lighthouse theories, right? If you had a lighthouse out on the horizon, right, you can only go a certain distance where you should be able to see where it's a straight line. So why can you see so far away, right? It's too far to see if the Earth was curved. It would, you know, obscure, right? Because the lighthouse is over here and you're over here, so you shouldn't be able to see because of the curvature. You know,
yeah.
Well, light bends.
Right.
Light bends around us, around the sphere of the planet. You know, yes, you can see. Yes, laser will bend, be due to the mass of the planet. So you can see farther than you think you should be able to.
Yep, that makes sense. So
anyway, all the flat earthers just went. They're in denial right now.
Nah, what they're doing is like, this guy doesn't get it. This guy, I told you he wasn't credible.
Yeah, they got to deny it now, and then they're going to be angry about it, and they're going to lash out, and they're going to make horrible comments in there about, you know, you rounders think the wrong way. I just made that up.
Rounders. It's gonna work.
It's a flop of the flat earther, right? So you were the rounders, right?
Right. Yeah. You know
my favorite slur that I remembered. It was just, you know, this kind of along those same lines. I thought was very humorous. I was working on in Las Vegas having a. Let's cover it. But anyway, the gentleman I was working with, kind of partnering up with on a business venture, he was gay, right? Or is gay, and I remember he referred to me as a breeder, as a slur.
Yeah,
Right?
well, that's what the cabal calls us too. So.
I said, "Oh, I know you mean that as a slur against me, but I find that very humorous." So it's like I'm a rounder, right? So it's like
Rounder. Yeah, it's a good show. Now, look, we could break up people's absolute truths. I mean, that would be a show all by itself because, it a lot of these absolute truths, the evidence to contradict them are right in front of us. I mean, all the time. Now, flat Earth, I mean, I think the flat Earth guys do a pretty good job. I think it's a pretty cool concept. It's interesting, right? It forces you to think about something else. So, I'm not against, that
yeah.
that conversation. I just
I have said I agree that the planet is not a perfect sphere shape. It's not perfect. It's probably and it could be more pear shaped, more bulging in one area than the other. It could, and I think probably does, literally have a place at the top and the bottom where it actually goes in. I think that's probably realistic. I think that also can hold up in science and how gravity works and the flow of the water could be happening around the surface and go in and out that way.
yeah. Well,
So
I think it would follow the torus energy field. I mean, everything when you look at the torus, everything creates its own individual torus energy field, right?
sure, that's
So
it.
yeah,
And it's a natural part of it. It's a big donut, right? If you look about the energy field, it goes in and well, it goes out the top and goes back in at the bottom. You have this big tube of energy around, so it's a donut of energy. And then if you squeeze down, some of those donuts have a very thin hull, right? So you think about that energy going down in, gets more constrained, right? What is that energy at that place? What is that like? It's a lot of flow of energy at those positions, right? So can you maybe imagine that even the flow of water could actually go down along that and be kept at the sides? Plus,
yeah,
then the spin, right? We're spinning. Once you
right.
get water go back down in there, and the body is spinning, centrifugal force is going to keep the water on the inner side, and it's going to flow back out at the other end and back out into the oceans. That's more likely, right, of a scenario, right? But the land mass is interlocked by plates, and you know what? Along the line, some of those plates may be a little bit more flat than others,
Sure,
but they're gonna
sure.
but some of them are very much more bulging and out of proportion. When you look at the mountain ranges, right? It's not flat. Uh,
Yep, it's exciting. It's everything.
cool.
Dan, did you share your UFO sighting?
No, I never did.
Dan and I were on the phone, and he literally saw a UFO. And I said, "Get off the phone, and take a picture," and he did. It
And,
was
I, and,
pretty
it,
amazing.
and the problem with my phone is not it's malfunctioning on taking photos on the long shot. It's only taking photos well, faces. You take your own photo, right? But the other side of the camera, it won't come in clear. So I did take some photos with my other camera phone, but the resolution is not so good. But yeah, I did, and it made a pass. Let's see, can I bring that up? Let me see if I would have to have moved it over to this other.
Now I see UFOs all the time, by the way. And sometimes it's hard for me to tell sometimes if they're drones or something else because there's drones that are roughly the shape of a car. And I was actually on the Brooklyn Bridge the other day, and a drone came right out and followed me and my family for
Here's one
like an hour.
I've sent to you in Telegram. So I'll do is I'll download them.
Posting up.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll back over and let me share this. Well, this is the far off one. Okay. So this is Manila, out way out in the distance there, right? And then you have this land that's in between, and this is a Lake Laguna. It's a very big lake. It's huge, like the Great Lakes of, like Pennsylvania, New York, those Great Lake areas, those Great Lakes. It's like that, 1.5 million hectares of water. This is just a small section of it. If you look here, I'm going to zoom in. See that kind of black? It kind of seems like it has like a bit of a of a of a trail behind it, and then it looked solid to me when I was looking at it. But if I, it basically went from. Let me back up a little bit. It basically went. It was around for about 5 minutes. It went to the right of this image, over where the more towards the right of where the city of this picture is. Stayed there for a while and went back to this position, and then went back again to where it was, and then it disappeared. It took about 5 minutes. That's
pretty amazing.
Yeah. Let's see if I can bring up the other. I have one. There was one more. I did kind of a more of a close up. I don't know if that's really any better. Yeah, it's not. It's not much better. So I'll just skip it. Yeah. So yeah, it's just a unique. You never know when something like this is gonna pop up. I saw a unidentified flying object when I was maybe like 14 years old in Pennsylvania. It was a metallic cigar type shape object hanging over the tree line. I was coming back from swimming at the swimming hole. Right? Had a big rope swing on it. It was a dozen kids over there. It was in the summertime, and I was going back home. It was about a 40-minute walk, to that place and back to my home. So on my way back, cutting across the meadow, this was above the tree line. It was just, I initially was thinking it was like a ranger station, because we have these ranger stations where they, look out for fires. I thought, oh, it's a strange ranger station. Then it just went straight up, stopped there, and then back out of view. Very quickly. I was first stared at it for probably a minute before that it moved. I was shocked when it moved, and then nobody believed me. I was really bummed about that. Yeah, I went around telling my friends, and no one believed me. What do you do? I said,
Well,
I don't know what it was. It wasn't aliens. I can't tell you that. It could have been military.
Yep. Well, lots of things happen. These in New York when that, they saw in Washington D.C. There was all types of sightings of that triangle, not triangle, but a pyramid that was floating. And it wasn't just a triangle; it was a pyramid. So it wasn't the ship that everybody wants to try to make it. It was a pyramid, right?
Yeah.
So that stuff's pretty amazing.
Well, David Wilcox. I know it's like not a fan. That Thomas Williams not a fan of David Wilcox, but I always followed him and got information about what they're talking about. I found it fascinating about disclosure, and Stephen Greer. I followed his disclosure efforts. Going to Congress and informing government people about what's happening about this. And this is all it's really about, again, the deep state hiding information. It's all these security levels above the president. They don't need to know, right? And it's all this. So this whole shadow infrastructure that's above what we know as government. that is setting up and building underground cities and places on other planets, and this is being disclosed. So, but David Wilcox was describing this disclosure happening, and they said, well, what they've decided on is that they're going to do this limited disclosure. It's what the cabal wants to do. Talk about some of the anti-gravity systems, right? And so they're pushing out now a very big push to show this information about this flying triangle. Now there's actually images from inside where the pilot is sitting, right, and the inside of the structure. Outside the structure with people standing on the wings. You can see proportionately how big the people are compared to the whole thing. So these images are now, over the last 2 months, being pushed out. We have anti-gravity. It's not 100% anti-gravity. It's only 90%. I said 89% of the weight is displaced. And it's nuclear powered, and they basically heat up mercury and they spin it, and they create a vortex that creates a lighter, displaces the weight by 90%. So then that triangle can now be propelled anywhere. So they're now doing disclosure of anti-gravity. I think that's why I had someone else asking to buy my web domain, antigravity.com, because that happened a couple months ago. They're asking.
Dan, check your Telegram. I just sent you a picture.
Okay.
That is a U.S. military flying saucer. It is known. They've had it for a long time. It is in the air. It is already operating. So, yeah, that's
Okay. I think that's U.S.
Yeah.
It says so. Oh, I'll share it now. Hang on a second. Well, it says U.S. Air Force.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's and it's parked in the air. You know what I mean? It's like,
well, so where did I leave my flying saucer? Oh yeah, it's over there above the plane.
That's right. Right, yeah, it's floating.
It's like that says U.S. Air Force there. That says U.S. Air Force there. I guess it must be U.S. Air Force.
So, yeah, next time we talk, man, I think we should dive into the Dead Sea Scrolls and go into. There's a the whole thing about the Dead Sea Scrolls is when you get into the Dead Sea Scrolls, it's obviously some kind of galactics, right? Because it's described very clearly, like it's like, and a wheel within a wheel came down, and a platform came out, right? A ladder came out and touched the ground, and Elijah walked upon it, and then all these things, and it's incredible when you get the whole story. So imagine if the whole story, that's why everything we're talking about is so real. Because
listen, we are a movie driven society. Why hasn't all these stories been put out into a movie form? It's visualized, actually, word for word, what it said.
What do you mean?
I know. Yeah, we have Noah's story done and Moses' story done. Okay, what about the rest? And I'm not talking about the last Noah with rock monsters.
That was terrible. Yeah.
Well, I love the rock monsters. The rock monsters were awesome. They had nothing to do with the Bible and and the story, but they were awesome rock monsters. The Watcher.
Yeah.
This is what you. I guess they took poetic license.
Yeah, they certainly took poetic license.
Yeah, well, they also wanted to make him look like he was insane, talking to invisible people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know that one Noah movie, like it made me furious, but then like I got some of the the backstory from the Gnostic text, right, where Adam is talking about how the agreement was, or Adam or something. I don't know. I forget how it goes, but somewhere in there it was like, the whatever the ruling galactics were, right? Because Enki puts the divine spark in humans, and he wasn't supposed to. Noah was supposed to rule the world, but he wasn't supposed to, breed anymore, right? Don't make any more humans. so he broke the rules, right? When his daughters got him drunk and he got him pregnant. I don't know, some crazy thing like that.
So this is one of those crazy points though. Is like, okay, Noah, right? Okay, now we trace everything back to Noah. There was no other people other than Noah, and then of course his family. So now we have Noah, and he was saved by Enki, right? And Enki was also the one who put the divine spark into people, right? So now Enki is Satan, right? This is the connection. It's like, all right, he's Lucifer, he's Satan. So what happened? What's the crossover between the side of the good side and the bad side? So it gets very confusing. People say, well, wait a minute, how is Inky, if he's the guy that put the spark in us, or he's God, right? Inky the God. Well, how does that fit, right? So then you have to get into like now the family politics between Inky and Enlil, and then their like their father Anu, right?
Right.
And so who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy? Right? Who's we're rooting for this now? Obviously, if you look at the Luciferian whole concept and sadism and all this, it's a really bad way to go. Right? You're killing people and drinking blood and eating people and the whole rest of all of the stomping out care, and you don't care for anyone, don't love. So how does that fit?
Right.
How do you make that? How do you make that leap?
I don't know. I mean, that's part of the challenge, I think, too, is that, it comes down to, we have to be sovereign. We have to make decisions for ourselves, and we have to kind of decide who we want to be.
Well, I kind of have my own theory about that because I'm just piecing things together. Right? I don't have the answers. Right? I just know that I start to form like a kind of a possible scenario. GCR didn't make any sense to me on the numbers. I said the only way it makes sense is if they're going to use this super huge numbers to handle the debt, because if you have super huge amount of numbers come in, the debt becomes very small, it gets squashed, and then you just knock off 12 zeros. Right?
Right.
And now you're back to a dollar for everything, and for it makes a dollar. So it was just a scenario. I didn't know what makes sense. So just like in this scenario, I said, well, what may make some sense is that okay, there was the family feud between Inky and Enlil. And Enlil wanted to wipe out everyone. That's the vengeful god of the Bible. And then Inky wanted to have the best for the people and so on. But it became an issue of a back and forth battle between what became the Christian side. Right? So that came from the Enlil side and the Christianity in politics way. Only in the politics side, to keep the spirituality out of the political side of this is that the Enlil side was more of the Christianity, and so those that became elite and supporting of Inky, they had to be the opposite, and so they just kept oppositing each other to death.
literally opposite each other.
Literally, how much splitting one to the other, and of course, then the Inky side became more well, that's Marduk, and became the rulers of the planet in these battles back and forth. They won, right? And they said, okay, well, you guys stay down there on Earth, we'll stay up here, right, and the stars. And so the banishment to this planet. So anyway, I'm just trying to piece some things together. I don't know if that's how accurate that is.
Well, also you have to consider that there's an infinite amount of timelines and possibilities that all happen simultaneously, right? So, I mean, this is proven with physics, right? With the split test, that all options are happening at all times, and all
I
this
just talking
creates
about the
different
one we're
timelines.
on right now, though.
Well, even this timeline, I mean, we've crossed over and been different places, right? Like, and now we're here. I mean, the timelines change on a regular basis. I mean, people probably felt it, right? Where a day is just going wrong and everything's out of kilt, and it just doesn't seem like anything's what they are used to, because you jumped into a wrong timeline, and you got to bring yourself back up to this timeline, right? Because this is the one where we win. So,
Yeah, so stay tuned in. Be sure to give your likes and your comments and share the video. Subscribe. Yeah, stay on this timeline.
Stay focused on this timeline. All right. This is the one where we change the world. This is the one.
This is it. Well, I mean, it's good. We can claim credit for tearing down the GCR because we had this impact, right? We changed.
You know what? It's pretty amazing, to have done that, to watch it happen. I'm always looking for different ships all the time. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm always outside watching for UFOs. Yeah. No, but I mean, absolutely. Look, this is an incredible time. I mean, you have Ben Fulford come out and say that the Zim is going to be not going to revalue according to the secret societies, which, I mean, obviously the secret societies have made a living lying, right? But clearly there's some kind of give there where they realize that's not going to happen. So now they're trying to come up with another plan, but, their master planners are dead. So they're going to come up with the exact same thing, right?
This sounds like a good, article to do, right? For a targeted video on the ending of the GCR. Grab in the clips from Benjamin Fulford and from, I started again today with Restored Republic saying that the intel is frozen and this is the last one.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if the intel is frozen, there should be, from what I understand, this one guy, I think his name is Mark Z, right? Now, Mark Z has like 6 million followers or something like that, right? Something insane. Now, let me tell you something. If you have 6 million followers, you do not have the truth because you're being allowed to be big, right? Now, if they're letting you reach 6 million people, they're definitely lying to you. But allegedly this morning, the Treasury was going to show up at his house. He was going to get a visitor, and, he must be one of the people selected to get the 800 numbers, and from there, magic ensues, and the 800 numbers come out, and all these.
Do you have your 800 number?
No, I used to be in the in crowd. I was supposed to be one of the 3 people to get them, and I did get 800 numbers before. They never worked, but obviously because the world is not the zombie apocalypse. So
yeah, I called the 800 number before too.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I had an 800 number. I called it.
Yeah.
I did. I called it. I was given the number and I called it.
Well, as you can see, I'm sure you still have your currency.
I've got it. Yeah, it's all stored there. No problem. All recorded.
Yeah, great. It's all perfect.
Well, so some of those 800 numbers must have leaked out, right? So some people must have called, right? I had, the group that I'm working with. We were talking about Rodriguez Trust. They had it was not the same RV number that they were going, but it was a number that we had to call to as we were talking about setting up certain things with the banks. Yeah, so it was a banking number, and then we were given another number. Okay. Yep. Yeah, but there was no other. But the other number never went anywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't come out that way.
Yeah. So this is not. I think a time where we can. Let's say this. Bring everyone along at one time. Everyone is going to have to accept this. As I said, you're going through these 5 stages of grief about letting go of the GCR. We have to open up probably our 12-step program for the GCR.
That's possible. I will say, just for anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about. Oh, see there's a triangle shaped craft over here.
No, not for me. It's too overcast. The rain has come in. Sui sent it here.
Mm. But the reason why it's such an important thing is that's what's holding everything up. The entire world is on stall mode, right? Because all of these various factions want to be the ones who heroically bring in the GCR and essentially implement this, you know, uh, economic collapse and start initiating the depopulation program. And that's what's
Of course,
holding
that's
everything
not
up.
what
It's
they're
us.
thinking, right? The people that are involved, they don't know about the depopulation. They're just saying, well, yeah, ready to move forward. Other people I'm dealing with in the Rodriguez Trust, they're all really good people. They all had these benevolent, things that they wanted to do. We literally, there was, I don't know what the current count is, but I remember when it was really close, 3 years ago, to being completed. There was already over 1,000 contracts in hand and projects and things that were already laid out, already to go, already with the money ready to flow from the paymaster's hands. It was already set.
Well, I don't know who's running the psyops right now. Certain organizations like the Restored Republic, for example, I'm certain that they were getting their information from some version of the White Hats or the Pentagon, and that's probably why they're shut down because they realize, hey, the Department of the Treasury is right now negative $7.68 billion, because they continue to act like criminals. And even though they did not honor their own agreement again, right? I don't remember when that was now, but when we started this, right? It was March 15th. They were giving them until March 15th, and if the GCR didn't go, they were going to go with Manna. Well, where are they? So they have proven beyond a shadow of doubt you cannot do business with them because they don't honor their agreement. That's the very nature of doing business. Is we both have to agree. I'm going to give you this. You're going to give me that in return. That is the trading process. So um, they have no honor. They have no integrity. They think they're above us, right? So dealing with us is like dealing with cattle. They don't care or respect anything about us. Now, to be honest, I think they fear us because we think outside the box and we're considering different realities, and then we're willing. We don't know that we can't do it, and because you don't know you can't do something, a lot of times you can. Just based on the fact that like no one told me I couldn't do it, so I just kept trying and I
I
did
think
it.
you can
Right?
do it.
Me too. That's what I'm saying.
It's already a way past their you know they lost it a long time ago. They just didn't know it.
Yeah.
And then they've been in the save now for years, right? But this has changed. Even when they're dealing with all of the people out there, this is one thing that's amazing to me, realizing how blinded to what's going on. They have all the creative people all focused on the GCR, right? They're ready to go. They've been making plans, all ready to go, and now they have a path over here. There's all this positive energy that's ready to go. They think they're dissipating it and they're preventing it from moving forward. And all they were doing is actually helping us focus in to get ready. And we're ready.
Well, and I do think a lot of people have been beat down by this. Obviously, they've been just
Oh, yeah.
drained from the weight. But where we're at in this moment is I'm very grateful that we have people that are on board, that the project's ready to go. We have all types of pieces in place. We have project directors who've been helping them get their pieces in order on the Creators Network. People are setting up trusts every day and getting those things ready so that when it's time to move money, we know where to move it. And and I'm still relatively confident that we'll be able to set up all this trust in the same bank, and everyone will be able to we'll have the trust already set up, and we'll make sure that the people are the benefactor, and we'll use our lawyers to act as their trustee, and then we can move funds all over the place and start to actually get people to work, right? Because every one of these projects, every dollar that goes out will create 15, right? Every single dollar from grant money, it creates more money. It's going to hit all types of people, We're going to create jobs. We're going to create, new infrastructure and roads that are, bio-friendly and, bring out free energy and anti-gravitational skateboards. It's going to be amazing. So I'm very excited about that. And I'm going to make a golf cart that is anti-grav golf cart. It's going to be sweet.
Yeah, that's it. Well, and it's great for playing golf.
Yeah. Absolutely. So.
Well, do you want to keep going? We're over 2 hours.
Nope. I'm good. I appreciate it. Thank you. Right. And I do expect to have great news this week. And whenever the RV is about to go. So I believe the RV hopefuls were told tomorrow that there's pay orders out there and everything's coming together and money's going out, right? So inevitably, what is probably actually happening is they're trying to align themselves with the money that they know Kim is moving, and they're going to try to steal it, right? I don't mean to put the cabal's plan out there, but they do the same thing every time. So here's what you can expect, right? They're probably going to send assassins who are going to stop living that day to try to take out Kim because they think that someone else can access the trust, which they won't. And they won't be able to get to Kim. And they're also going to, say, oh, the RV happened in Iraq and everybody's using the dinar. It's worth $50. It's gonna be amazing. That's not going to happen. That is not going to happen. There's not going to be an RV, not that way. But there is a personal revaluation, the way we can revalue ourselves, our relationships, and each other. And there is grant money that is available for innovative projects. So I would say it's time to get to work, and we should definitely be advancing in where we are with these projects. We should be working on these projects at this point, and we should be putting the pieces together so we know what do we do in our first 30 days. That's where we should be right now. And if you don't know that, you are about to get a rush of adrenaline, and I don't want you to panic. So I would get ready because that is right upon us. So, indeed. All right. Have a good night. Talk to you later.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everyone. Be sure to subscribe, share, pass it on, give your likes, positive comments, and I look forward to seeing you on Where We Go All, We Go All, Where We Go One, We Go All .love. The link is just below. Join up and see you there.